Every defeat holds the seed of greater success, but only for the person who refuses to surrender their vision. Defeat is not your enemy. Defeat is a messenger. It arrives uninvited, often painfully, but it never comes empty-handed. Inside every loss, every rejection, every collapse of plans, there is a lesson powerful enough to transform an ordinary individual into an unstoppable force, if they are willing to see it. Most people misunderstand defeat. They see it as a verdict on their worth. They believe failure means they are the failure. That belief is the greatest lie ever accepted by the human mind. Defeat is not a statement about who you are. It is feedback about what must change. History does not remember the people who quit at the first sign of resistance. It remembers those who stood up while bleeding, adjusted their strategy, and moved forward with stronger resolve. Every great achievement you admire was born from repeated disappointment, refined by persistence, and claimed by those who refused to negotiate with defeat. Here is a truth few accept. Success demands payment in advance, and that payment often comes in the form of failure. The world does not reward intentions, it rewards endurance. Those who expect a smooth road abandon their journey early. Those who understand that hardship is part of the contract stay long enough to win. Defeat tests one thing above all else: your mindset. Two people can experience the same loss. One becomes bitter, the other becomes better. The difference is not talent, luck, or opportunity. The difference is interpretation. When defeat speaks, do you listen with fear or with curiosity? Every setback forces you to grow beyond your current identity. It breaks old habits, destroys weak thinking, and exposes false beliefs. Without adversity, most people would never discover their discipline, courage, or inner authority. Comfort creates stagnation. Pressure creates power. There is a hidden gift inside every failure: clarity. Clarity about what does not work. Clarity about who stands with you. Clarity about the strength you must develop to reach the next level. Defeat strips away illusion and leaves only truth, and truth is the raw material of success. But understand this: defeat only helps those who persist. Without persistence, failure becomes permanent. With persistence, failure becomes preparation. The moment you decide to quit, you seal defeat as final. The moment you decide to continue, defeat loses its power over you. Persistence is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is quiet, relentless action when motivation disappears. It is showing up when no one is watching. It is holding faith when evidence is absent. Persistence turns temporary loss into lasting triumph. Many people are closer to success than they realize, yet they retreat because defeat convinces them they are not worthy. The tragedy is not failing. The tragedy is stopping one step before the breakthrough that changes everything.
Remember this: success
Often arrives late. It tests your patience. It delays to see who truly deserves it. Those who stay committed through defeat demonstrate mastery over themselves, and that mastery always leads to external victory. Your defeats are not obstacles. They are training grounds. They build resilience, sharpen focus, and strengthen belief. When used correctly, defeat becomes the foundation upon which greatness is built. Refuse to let temporary circumstances dictate permanent decisions. Refuse to allow today's loss to cancel tomorrow's potential. Stand firm. Learn fast. Move forward. Because the moment you stop fearing defeat and start using it, you step into power. And when success finally arrives, it will not belong to the strongest, the smartest, or the luckiest. It will belong to the one who did not quit. Every defeat holds the seed of greater success, but only for the mind strong enough to grow it. Defeat is not an ending. It is information, raw, uncompromising, and brutally honest. It arrives to expose what comfort hides and to reveal what success demands next. Defeat does not come to destroy you. It comes to instruct you. It points directly to the weakness you avoided, the discipline you delayed, the courage you hesitated to claim. Those who misunderstand defeat run from it. Those who understand it study it, extract its meaning, and rise sharper than before. Defeat speaks a language most people refuse to learn. It communicates through discomfort, loss, and delay. It tells you where your preparation was insufficient, where your belief wavered, where your effort stopped too soon. Information is useless only to those unwilling to act on it. When defeat appears, it asks one question: will you use this moment as a turning point or as an excuse? The mind decides everything at this moment. One path leads to surrender, self-pity, and retreat. The other leads to reflection, correction, and renewed action. The same defeat creates two completely different futures depending on the interpretation chosen. The individual who treats defeat as a verdict remains trapped. The individual who treats defeat as data evolves. Defeat exposes illusions. It strips away false confidence and imagined readiness. It shows exactly how far preparation truly went. It reveals whether desire was deep or merely spoken. Most people want success without exposure, progress without pressure, victory without resistance. Defeat eliminates that fantasy and replaces it with truth. Truth is uncomfortable, but it is the foundation of all lasting achievement. Every major breakthrough requires a breakdown of the old self. Defeat accelerates that process. It dismantles habits that no longer serve the goal. It forces the mind to abandon shortcuts and confront reality. Growth does not negotiate, it demands expansion, and defeat is one of its most effective tools. Temporary loss is often the price of permanent strength. Muscles grow through resistance. Character forms through pressure. Vision sharpens the rough contrast. Without defeat, ambition remains untested and shallow. With defeat, ambition is refined, hardened, and directed with precision. There is no wasted failure for the disciplined mind. Each setback reveals something essential: timing, strategy, patience, or resilience. The lesson may not be comfortable, but it is always valuable. Those who extract the lesson move forward wiser. Those who ignore it repeat the same cycle with greater frustration. Defeat also tests faith, not blind optimism, but disciplined belief. Belief that action still matters, belief that effort compounds, even when results are invisible. Belief that today's loss does not define tomorrow's outcome. When belief collapses, progress stops. When belief holds, momentum continues. Persistence is born in defeat. Anyone can act when success is guaranteed. Only the committed continue when evidence disappears. Persistence transforms information into advantage. It allows time for adjustment, skill for refinement, and patience for results to mature. Those who persist long enough always outgrow the defeat that once threatened them. Most victories arrive quietly after long silence. They come after repeated attempts, after public failure, after private doubt. Many stop too early, mistaking delay for denial. Defeat often stands between effort and reward, acting as a filter to remove the unprepared and the unwilling. The world does not reward comfort. It rewards growth. Defeat forces growth by demanding change. It demands higher standards, stronger habits, clearer thinking. When those demands are met, progress becomes inevitable. The disciplined individual uses defeat to recalibrate. They refine their plan without abandoning their purpose. They adjust their approach without lowering their standards. They strengthen their inner dialogue instead of poisoning it with doubt. They understand that self-mastery precedes external mastery. Defeat does not measure worth, it measures readiness. Readiness can be developed. Skills can be sharpened. Discipline can be built. Vision can be strengthened. What matters is the willingness to remain engaged in the process long enough for transformation to occur. Those who succeed are not free from defeat. They are fluent in it. They recognize its patterns, understand its messages, and respond with intelligence instead of emotion. They remain composed when outcomes disappoint. They remain focused when results are delayed. Information changes nothing without action. Defeat reveals what must change, but courage must execute the change. Courage to confront habits. Courage to abandon comfort. Courage to continue when pride is bruised and motivation is low. Every defeat sharpens the edge of those who refuse to quit. It strengthens resolve, clarifies intention, and deepens commitment. It forces the individual to choose between remaining as they are or becoming who they must be. Those who rise do not curse defeat. They thank it silently and move forward with precision, stronger discipline, and unshakable focus. Every failure carries instructions for the next victory, written in a language only the disciplined mind is willing to read. Failure is not chaos, it is coded guidance. It reveals what strength is missing, what preparation was incomplete, and what level of commitment must be reached next. Those who rush past failure miss the message. Those who pause, study, and correct their course turn loss into leverage. Failure does not arrive to embarrass you. It arrives to educate you. It exposes flaws that success would have hidden and highlights weaknesses that comfort would never reveal. When everything works, growth slows. When failure appears, awareness sharpens. It forces attention where it was lacking and demands responsibility where excuses once lived. Most people treat failure as punishment. They internalize it as shame and allow it to shrink their confidence. This response blocks progress. Failure is not personal. It is instructional. It is neutral until the mind assigns meaning. When meaning is chosen wisely, failure becomes a blueprint rather than a barrier. Every failed attempt narrows the gap between ignorance and mastery. It eliminates ineffective methods and refines strategy. Each misstep reduces uncertainty and increases precision. Failure simplifies the path forward by showing exactly what does not work. Clarity emerges when illusions collapse. Failure tests emotional control. It reveals whether discipline is root. D in purpose or dependent on results. When effort continues despite disappointment, character strengthens. When effort stops, failure becomes final. The difference is not talent or luck, it is response. The mind either resists instruction or absorbs it. Resistance creates repetition. Absorption creates progress. Failure repeats its lessons until they are learned. The same patterns return in different forms until correction occurs. Growth begins the moment responsibility replaces blame. Failure also exposes self-talk. The internal dialogue that follows loss determines the next outcome. Words shape belief, belief shapes action, and action shapes results. A mind trained to interpret failure as guidance maintains momentum even under pressure. A mind trained to interpret failure as defeat collapses under its weight. There is no wasted effort in honest pursuit. Even unsuccessful attempts build endurance, awareness, and skill. Failure strengthens mental muscles that success alone cannot develop. It conditions patience, sharpens focus, and deepens resilience. These qualities compound over time and eventually overpower obstacles. Failure demands humility. It strips away arrogance and replaces assumption with curiosity. Curiosity leads to learning. Learning leads to improvement. Improvement leads to results. Those who remain teachable move forward. Those who defend their mistakes remain stuck. The instructions within failure are rarely comfortable. They often require change, discipline, and sacrifice. They may demand abandoning familiar habits or confronting uncomfortable truths. Growth always costs comfort. Failure reveals the price and asks whether the goal is worth paying for. Failure also tests commitment. Desire is easy to claim when outcomes are favorable. Commitment reveals itself when effort continues without reward. Persistence converts failure into preparation. Without persistence, failure becomes permanent. Most breakthroughs are preceded by repeated failure, not because success is cruel, but because readiness takes time. Failure filters out those unwilling to evolve. It strengthens those willing to endure. Victory favors the patient, the disciplined, and the adaptable. Failure sharpens perception. It teaches timing, positioning, and awareness. It trains the mind to anticipate challenges before they appear. Experience gained through failure becomes instinct. Instinct guides decisive action when opportunities arise. Those who succeed learn to expect failure as part of progress. They plan for it, analyze it, and move forward with improved strategy. They do not fear failure because they understand its role. They respect it as a necessary teacher. Failure does not close doors, it redirects effort. It points toward methods that align better with reality. When followed correctly, its instructions lead to efficiency, accuracy, and strength. Action is the final requirement. Insight without execution changes nothing. Failure provides knowledge, but disciple must apply it. The next attempt must reflect the lesson learned. Without adjustment, failure repeats. With adjustment, progress accelerates. Every failure strengthens those who refuse to surrender. It refines vision, deepens resolve, and builds confidence rooted in experience rather than illusion. The mind becomes resilient, adaptable, and focused. Victory is never accidental. It is constructed through repeated correction. Each failure contributes a piece of understanding. When enough understanding accumulates, success becomes inevitable. Those who rise do not avoid failure. They listen to it, learn from it, and act on its instruction with precision and persistence. The mind decides whether defeat becomes fuel or poison, and that decision is made in silence long before the world sees the result. Defeat itself is neutral. It carries no power, no meaning, no final judgment. Its impact is determined entirely by the thoughts that follow it. The same defeat that sharpens one person will slowly destroy another. The difference is not the size of the loss, but the discipline of the mind interpreting it. When defeat strikes, the mind reacts instantly. It can ignite anger, doubt, fear, and self-blame, or it can activate awareness, adjustment, and resolve. One reaction drains energy. The other converts pain into power. Poison spreads when defeat is personalized, when it is allowed to attack identity instead of strategy. Fuel is created when defeat is analyzed objectively, stripped of emotion, and used as raw material for growth. The undisciplined mind allows defeat to speak uncontested. It accepts negative conclusions without evidence. It repeats destructive questions. Why me? Why now? Why bother again? These questions weaken resolve and anchor the mind to the moment of loss. Over time, repeated exposure to this thinking conditions hesitation, lowers standards, and erodes belief. Poison works slowly, quietly, and effectively. The disciplined mind interrupts that process. It does not deny pain, but it refuses to romanticize it. It replaces emotional reactions with intentional evaluation. What failed, what was missing, what must change. This shift transforms defeat into fuel. Fuel does not comfort, it propels. It creates urgency, clarity, and focus. It forces improvement. Defeat often attacks confidence first. Confidence built on results collapses quickly. Confidence built on identity and discipline survives. When belief is anchored to effort rather than outcome, defeat loses its ability to paralyze. The mind understands that progress is not linear and that resistance is evidence of growth, not proof of inadequacy. The mind also controls repetition. Poisoned thinking causes defeat to replay endlessly, reinforcing fear and hesitation. Fueled thinking extracts the lesson once and moves forward stronger. The memory remains, but its emotional charge is removed. The event becomes reference, not residence. Every challenge presents a mental negotiation. The term S are simple. Surrender now for temporary relief, or endure discomfort for long-term strength. The mind that seeks comfort chooses poison. The mind that seeks progress chooses fuel. One choice limits potential, the other expands it. Defeat exposes habits of thought that success can conceal. It reveals whether the mind is trained or reactive. Training requires deliberate effort. It requires replacing impulsive interpretations with intentional ones. It requires discipline in moments when emotion demands release. This discipline separates growth from stagnation. Fuel sharpens ambition. It creates hunger. It reminds the mind of unfinished work and unrealized standards. Poison dulls ambition. It justifies retreat and reframes quitting as wisdom. The same defeat can either intensify purpose or dissolve it. Depending on mental control, the mind must be guarded aggressively after defeat. Negative narratives attempt to take control immediately. They sound logical. They feel protective. They promise safety through avoidance. In reality, they trade potential for comfort. Mental discipline rejects this trade. Failure does not poison the mind. Interpretation does. Defeat does not weaken resolve. Repetition of helpless thoughts does. The mind becomes what it consumes repeatedly. Feed it responsibility, reflection, and direction, and it grows stronger. Feed it blame, fear, and self-doubt, and it deteriorates. Those who use defeat as fuel develop resilience that cannot be borrowed or faked. It is earned through repeated confrontation with discomfort. Each encounter strengthens emotional control and sharpens judgment. Over time, the mind learns to remain steady under pressure, to think clearly when outcomes disappoint. Defeat also reveals desire. When motivation collapses, commitment is tested. Fuel-driven minds recommit with greater precision. They refine goals, raise standards, and improve systems. Poison-driven minds lower expectations to protect ego. One path leads forward, the other circles backward. The mind that converts defeat into fuel understands delay. It understands that growth operates on a longer timeline than emotion prefers. It resists impulsive decisions and remains aligned with long-term vision. Poison thrives on impatience. Fuel thrives on persistence. Mental strength is not built in victory. Victory rewards preparation. Defeat builds it. Each response conditions the next. Over time, the mind becomes trained to respond with composure, analysis, and action rather than reaction. Those who master their mind after defeat gain control over their direction. They are no longer dependent on circumstance for confidence. They move with intention, guided by lessons rather than emotions, focused on correction rather than complaint. Temporary loss is the price paid for permanent growth, and no meaningful progress has ever been achieved without first accepting that cost. Growth demands expansion, and expansion requires pressure. Loss is not a sign of regress. Ion. It is evidence that limits are being tested. The discomfort felt in moments of loss is the sensation of growth in motion. Every attempt to rise beyond the familiar creates friction. The old self resists change because change threatens comfort. Temporary loss disrupts routine, challenges belief, and forces adaptation. Without disruption, habits remain unchanged. Without change, growth stalls. Loss initiates the process that progress completes. The mind often confuses loss with failure. Loss is transitional. Failure is permanent only when effort stops. Temporary loss appears when old methods no longer match higher goals. It signals that a new level of discipline, strategy, or patience is required. Those who retreat misinterpret the signal. Those who adjust advance. Growth requires shedding. Strength replaces weakness only when weakness is confronted. Knowledge replaces ignorance only when assumptions collapse. Confidence replaces doubt only after it has been tested. Temporary loss creates the conditions for these exchanges. It removes what no longer serves and makes room for what must be developed. There is no transformation without sacrifice. Time, comfort, certainty, and sometimes reputation are exchanged for long-term capability. Temporary loss exposes these costs clearly. It asks whether the vision is strong enough to endure the price. Those who hesitate return to safety. Those who accept the cost move forward changed. Loss sharpens awareness. It brings attention to detail, effort, and consistency. When results disappear, behavior is examined. Discipline increases. Focus intensifies. Growth accelerates under scrutiny. Comfort dulls attention. Loss awakens it. Temporary loss strengthens resilience. Repeated exposure conditions emotional control. The mind learns that discomfort does not equal danger and that pressure does not signal defeat. Over time, resilience becomes instinct. Challenges are met with composure rather than panic. Growth also demands patience. Results lag behind effort. Temporary loss tests patience by delaying reward. Those who persist during delay develop endurance. Endurance multiplies effectiveness. Without patience, effort fragments and progress resets. Temporary loss often isolates. Support fades when outcomes decline. Validation disappears. This isolation strengthens independence. Growth becomes internally driven rather than externally reinforced. Motivation matures. Purpose clarifies. Progress becomes self-sustained. Loss removes illusion. It reveals gaps in preparation and flaws in execution. Illusion protects ego but prevents improvement. Loss strips away protection and exposes truth. Truth is uncomfortable but essential. Permanent growth cannot be built on illusion. Temporary loss also demands humility. It forces learning. Arrogance resists correction. Humility accelerates it. Those willing to learn from loss improve rapidly. Those who defend their position stagnate. Every level of growth introduces new resistance. Temporary loss increases with ambition. Higher goals require greater refinement. Each loss represents another adjustment toward alignment with the goal. Growth is cumulative. Loss is part of its currency. Those who succeed understand exchange. They trade short-term discomfort for long-term capacity. They accept temporary loss without emotional collapse. They remain engaged while others retreat. Over time, this consistency compounds. Loss is not evidence of inadequacy. It is evidence of participation. Only those attempting something greater encounter loss. Stagnation feels safe but produces nothing. Growth feels costly but produces capability. Temporary loss trains judgment. It improves decision-making by exposing consequences. Experience deepens. Awareness sharpens. Each encounter leaves the individual better prepared for the next challenge. Permanent growth reshapes identity. The person who emerges is stronger, more disciplined, and more capable. That version cannot exist without the losses that shaped it. Growth is not added, it is forged. Those who endure temporary loss develop unshakable confidence. Confidence rooted in survival rather than success. It does not depend on outcomes. It endures through uncertainty. Temporary loss is not a detour. It is the path. It strengthens those willing to walk it and filters out those unwilling to pay its price. Persistence is the separator between quitters and winners, and that line is drawn long before results appear. Talent does, and OT draw it. Intelligence does not draw it. Circumstance does not draw it. Persistence does. The ability to continue when progress is slow, when recognition is absent, and when effort feels unrewarded determines who advances and who disappears. Most people begin with enthusiasm. Very few continue with discipline. The early stages of any pursuit feel exciting because hope is high and resistance is low. Over time, resistance increases, feedback becomes harsher, and results become inconsistent. This is where persistence is tested. Those who rely on motivation stop when it fades. Those who rely on persistence continue regardless of mood. Persistence is not loud or dramatic. It does not seek validation. It operates quietly through routine, repetition, and restraint. It is the willingness to show up repeatedly without guarantee. This consistency compounds. Small actions performed daily under resistance create outcomes that occasional effort never can. Quitters respond to discomfort by retreating. Winners respond by adjusting. Persistence does not mean repeating the same mistake endlessly. It means staying engaged long enough to learn, adapt, and improve. Progress is rarely straight. Persistence navigates curves rather than abandoning the path. Every meaningful goal introduces delay. Delay tests commitment. Persistence bridges the gap between effort and reward. Without it, ambition collapses under impatience. With it, obstacles become temporary and manageable. Persistence builds identity. Each decision to continue reinforces self-trust. Confidence grows from kept promises to oneself. Over time, the mind expects follow-through rather than excuses. This expectation strengthens resolve and sharpens focus. Winners are not immune to doubt. They experience fatigue, frustration, and fear like anyone else. The difference lies in response. Persistence acts despite doubt. It replaces hesitation with action and emotion with structure. Persistence demands emotional control. Feelings fluctuate. Discipline does not. Those who persist learn to act without emotional permission. They move forward even when enthusiasm is absent. This ability separates progress from stagnation. Quitters often justify stopping with logic that sounds reasonable. They claim timing, circumstances, or priorities have changed. Persistence sees these justifications as tests rather than truths. It recognizes that conditions are rarely ideal and progress requires movement anyway. Persistence sharpens skill. Repetition under pressure refines technique. Each attempt increases competence. Over time, what once required effort becomes instinct. Mastery emerges not from brilliance, but from sustained application. Resistance increases as one approaches higher levels. This resistance discourages the uncommitted and strengthens the persistent. Obstacles are not signs to stop. They are signals of advancement. Those who persist understand this pattern and continue with increased focus. Persistence also builds resilience. Repeated exposure to challenge conditions the mind to remain steady. Setbacks lose their emotional charge. Confidence becomes rooted in endurance rather than outcome. Winners accept that persistence requires sacrifice. Comfort, leisure, and convenience are often exchanged for progress. Quitters protect comfort. Winners invest it. This investment compounds into advantage. Persistence transforms time into ally. Time rewards consistency. Each day of effort accumulates unseen until momentum becomes undeniable. Many quit just before this moment. Persistence keeps going until it arrives. The persistent individual maintains vision when results are invisible. They trust the process because they understand its nature. Growth operates quietly before it reveals itself. Persistence allows that process to complete. Those who persist become reliable to themselves. This reliability strengthens decision-making and reduces hesitation. Action becomes habitual. Momentum builds. Persistence does not guarantee ease. It guarantees progress. It ensures that effort continues until capability matches ambition. Those who persist long enough always separate themselves. Quitters stop because persistence exposes weakness. Winners continue because persistence builds strength. Adversity reveals hidden strengths you never knew you had because comfort never asks you to look for them. Pressure forces discovery. When circumstances tighten and options narrow, the mind and character are compelled to respond in ways that routine life never demands. Strength does not appear in ease, it is uncovered in resistance. Most people live far below their true capacity because they are never required to go further. Familiar routines protect energy but also conceal potential. Adversity disrupts that protection. It demands problem-solving, endurance, and courage. In answering that demand, dormant abilities awaken. Strength is not created by adversity. It already exists. Adversity removes the excuses that kept it hidden. When support disappears and certainty collapses, the individual is forced to rely on internal resources. What emerges is self-trust, resilience, and determination previously unexplored. Adversity sharpens focus. When stakes rise, distractions lose power. Priorities become clear. Energy is directed with precision. This clarity reveals competence and discipline that comfort never required. Under pressure, the mind learns to eliminate waste and act decisively. Fear often accompanies adversity. Fear signals unfamiliar territory. Moving through it expands capacity. Each confrontation with fear strengthens emotional control. Over time, what once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable. Confidence grows through repeated survival. Adversity exposes character. It reveals whether values are flexible or firm. Principles tested under pressure either strengthen or collapse. Those who endure discover integrity and resolve they did not know they possessed. This discovery reshapes identity. Problem-solving ability expands under adversity. Easy conditions allow shortcuts. Difficult conditions require innovation. The mind adapts by creating new strategies and approaches. This adaptability becomes a lasting asset. Adversity teaches self-reliance. External validation fades. Support systems weaken. Progress depends on internal drive. This dependence on self strengthens independence and initiative. Motivation becomes intrinsic rather than borrowed. Resilience develops through repeated exposure. The first challenge feels heavy. The next feels familiar. Over time, adversity loses its intimidation. The individual becomes capable of maintaining composure under stress. Calm replaces panic. Adversity refines discipline. When outcomes matter, effort becomes deliberate. Habits tighten. Focus sharpens. Consistency increases. Strength emerges through structure and repetition. Hidden courage appears when escape is limited. Adversity removes comfortable exits. Action becomes necessary. Courage grows through necessity, not intention. Each decisive act reinforces bravery. Adversity also reveals empathy. Experiencing struggle deepens understanding of others. Perspective expands. Emotional intelligence strengthens. This awareness enhances leadership and connection. Strength discovered through adversity is durable. It does not depend on circumstance. It remains accessible in future challenges. Once revealed, it cannot be unseen. Adversity builds confidence rooted in experience. Surviving difficulty proves capability. Self-doubt weakens. Belief becomes grounded in evidence rather than hope. Adversity clarifies purpose. When tested, trivial goals fade. Meaningful objectives endure. Commitment deepens. Direction strengthens. Those who endure adversity carry its lessons forward. Each challenge becomes reference, not trauma. Growth accumulates. Adversity does not arrive to weaken. It arrives to reveal. Those willing to face it emerge expanded, disciplined, and capable beyond their former understanding. Success often arrives disguised as delay and disappointment, appearing at the exact moment when impatience is tested and belief is questioned. The mind expects progress to be immediate and visible, but growth follows a different rhythm. Delay is not denial. Disappointment is not defeat. They are signals that preparation is still in motion. Most people abandon their pursuit not because the goal is unreachable, but because the timeline challenges their endurance. Delay stretches patience. It demands consistency without reassurance. During this phase, effort continues while results remain silent. Those who misunderstand delay interpret silence as failure and withdraw. Those who understand it recognize refinement taking place beneath the surface. Disappointment often emerges when expectations are attached to timing rather than process. The mind measures effort against immediate outcome and grows restless when they do not align. This restlessness weakens resolve. Yet disappointment carries information. It highlights attachment to outcome instead of commitment to growth. Delay creates space for development. Skills sharpen, discipline strengthens, awareness deepens. The work done during delay is invisible but essential. Foundations form quietly before they are tested by success. Without this unseen preparation, visible achievement collapses. Disappointment exposes motivation. When excitement fades, purpose is tested. Those driven by validation retreat. Those driven by commitment continue. This separation occurs gradually, unnoticed by others, but it determines eventual outcome. Delay also filters intention. Casual desire dissolves under extended effort. Serious ambition remains. The longer the delay, the clearer the motive becomes. Those who persist through uncertainty prove alignment with their goal. Disappointment sharpens self-evaluation. It forces reassessment of strategy, effort, and focus. Weak methods are discarded, strong ones refined. Progress accelerates once adjustment occurs. Success rarely appears fully formed. It arrives incrementally, often unnoticed at first. Delay masks these small advances. Only those attentive to growth recognize momentum building. The mind often seeks comfort in certainty. Delay removes certainty. This discomfort strengthens resilience. Learning to operate without immediate feedback builds confidence independent of outcome. Disappointment teaches emotional discipline. It requires regulation rather than reaction. Those who maintain composure during disappointment preserve clarity. Clarity enables correction and continuation. Delay also teaches trust. Trust in effort, trust in process, trust in long-term vision. This trust is built through experience, not affirmation. Each moment of continued action reinforces it. Those who succeed understand that delay is an active phase. They do not pause effort while waiting. They intensify focus. They refine habits. They strengthen systems. Disappointment removes illusion. It exposes unrealistic timelines and superficial goals. What remains is authentic ambition aligned with capability. Delay demands persistence. Without it, progress resets. With it, momentum compounds. Disappointment strengthens humility. It invites learning. Arrogance resists delay. Humility adapts. Success often appears immediately after the point of maximum doubt. The moment when quitting feels justified is often the moment before breakthrough. Those who endure this phase distinguish themselves. Delay and disappointment are not obstacles. They are tests of readiness. Those who pass emerge prepared. Those who interpret delay as preparation and disappointment as instruction maintain forward motion. Over time, effort aligns with opportunity. Success rewards those who continue through silence and uncertainty, guided by discipline rather than emotion. Faith and self-belief must be stronger than circumstances, because circumstances are temporary while belief determines direction. Conditions change without warning. Progress does not depend on favorable situations. It depends on an internal commitment that remains steady when conditions deteriorate. When belief weakens, action falters. When belief holds, movement continues regardless of environment. Circumstances attempt to dictate limits. They present evidence of scarcity, resistance, and delay. The undisciplined mind accepts this evidence as final truth. The disciplined mind questions it. Faith does not deny reality. It refuses to let reality define potential. It holds vision steady while conditions fluctuate. Self-belief governs response. Two individuals may face identical challenges. One retreats, the other advances. The difference is not strength or opportunity. It is belief in personal capacity to adapt, endure, and overcome. Belief fuels persistence. Without it, effort collapses at the first sign of opposition. Faith operates before proof appears. It sustains action during uncertainty. Results follow consistency, not optimism. Belief anchors discipline when motivation disappears. It allows action without emotional confirmation. Circumstances challenge belief deliberately. Resistance tests commitment. Pressure tests confidence. Delay tests patience. Each test exposes whether belief is conditional or absolute. Conditional belief collapses under stress. Absolute belief adjusts strategy without surrendering purpose. Self-belief is built through action, not affirmation. Each completed effort, T reinforces trust in ability. Each endured challenge strengthens conviction. Belief compounds through experience. Circumstances often appear overwhelming because focus narrows. Belief widens perspective. It shifts attention from obstacle to solution. This shift unlocks creativity and problem solving. Fear restricts options. Faith expands them. Belief controls self-talk. Internal language shapes perception. Defeated language weakens resolve. Empowering language sustains effort. The mind listens constantly. Belief directs the dialogue intentionally. Circumstances also attempt to influence identity. Repeated difficulty can convince the mind of limitation. Faith resists this narrative. It separates current condition from future capability. Identity remains intact despite setbacks. Self-belief must be protected. Doubt spreads quickly when reinforced by external noise. Discipline guards focus. Attention is directed toward improvement rather than comparison. Faith does not eliminate effort. It intensifies it. Belief increases standards. It demands excellence despite adversity. Those who believe act with urgency. Circumstances change through sustained action. Waiting for improvement invites stagnation. Belief initiates movement. Movement creates momentum. Self-belief enables patience. It understands progress requires time. Impatience erodes belief. Patience strengthens it. Faith strengthens emotional control. It reduces panic and preserves clarity. Calm decision-making becomes pause. Able under stress. Belief also attracts opportunity. Confidence influences perception and interaction. Others respond to conviction. Circumstances cannot overpower consistent belief paired with disciplined action. Over time, persistence reshapes environment. Those who maintain faith during difficulty develop resilience. Resilience becomes advantage. Belief anchored in discipline rather than hope endures. It remains stable when outcomes disappoint. Faith and self-belief determine trajectory. They guide action through uncertainty and resistance. Those who hold belief stronger than circumstance continue moving forward, adjusting strategy without surrendering purpose. Those who refuse to quit eventually command their destiny, because destiny does not belong to the impatient or the timid. It belongs to the relentless. Life presents obstacles, setbacks, and moments when surrender seems logical. Most people stop at these moments, believing that resistance is futile. The individual who refuses to quit sees